Hi, I'm Dana Obelman, and not so long ago I was a brand new mom at a crossroads. I was on a maternity leave after the birth of my first son, Charlie, and I realized that as much as I love my career as a first grade teacher, I really didn't want to go back to it. Now, there were a few different reasons why, but the two biggest reasons were the money I'd make. The money I'd make as a first grade teacher wasn't all that much more than I'd have to pay to put my son in full-time daycare. I'd basically be signing over my paycheck to someone else so that they could raise my son for me. That's not exactly how I pictured motherhood. I'd also struggled a lot with my son's sleep, and after figuring out a system that would get him sleeping through the night, I started to notice that all kinds of moms in my community were reaching out to me and asking me how I did it. I realized then that this was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to help other families get their babies sleeping through the night. So I decided to take a big leap, and for the first time in my life, I started my own business. I called it Sleep Sense, and I borrowed $1,000 to build my website, get business cards, all from my father-in-law. Now, I was feeling pretty confident that the demand for a baby sleep consultant was there, but I wasn't sure. So it was such a great feeling when I started to get clients as soon as I opened my doors. And it only took a few months before I was making more money working part-time, doing something that I absolutely loved, than I'd been making as a full-time teacher. Plus, the best part was I got to set my own hours around my family schedule, so I didn't have all that guilt about having someone else raise my son. Well, after a few years, I noticed that I was getting more and more calls and emails from moms, not wanting me to help them get their babies sleeping, but wanting me to teach them how to start their own careers as baby sleep coaches. And for the longest time, I said no, because I really didn't want to train my competition, right? But then one day it hit me that the reason I do this work in the first place was to help parents get their babies sleeping through the night. And since there was only one of me, and there just wasn't enough help to go around, in fact, I was usually booked at least a few weeks in advance. So I knew that there were families out there that weren't getting the help that they needed. Well, fast track a few years, and I've now trained more than 200 certified Sleep Sense consultants from all around the world. I'm going to introduce you to a few of them in just a minute, but if this sounds like a career that might be right fit for you, I want to ask you to take a few minutes and click the button right under this video. That's going to take you to a page where you can answer a few simple questions about your background and what your desires are. And after you've answered those questions for me, I've got a ton of free information that I'm going to send you about becoming a certified Sleep Sense consultant. But first, I thought you might like to hear from a few of them personally.
Before I became a Sleep Sense consultant, I was a stay-at-home mom. I used to be a social worker in a former life, and then I became a stay-at-home mom. I wore a lot of hats before this. I was a high school teacher for 10 years, and I was a yoga instructor.
Before I became a Sleep Sense consultant, I spent about 14 years in the marketing industry. I worked for a large corporation in Minnesota.
Before I was a sleep consultant, I owned a retail store and in my hometown, and so I was running a small business.
The main thing that got me interested in being a Sleep Sense consultant was that I had a son who wouldn't sleep.
I think it was the fact that as a doula and a prenatal and a postnatal yoga teacher and a really tired mom myself, I realized that there was sort of a gap. We have a lot of preparation for childbirth and birth and labor, and then we have a lot of help and support right after a baby's born, but 3 months or 3 years down the road, parents may be still really struggling with sleep.
Our second son did not sleep well for 3 years, so we essentially were sleepless for 3 whole years, and we finally decided to work with Dana to figure out what was going on with his sleep. And once I went through that experience, it was just something that I needed to provide to other families because it really turned our life around.
I like that I'm able to make a good income. Money is always a good thing, but I really like being able to help people. It's life-changing, and doing that kind of work is amazing.
The thing I like best about being a SleepSense consultant is that I really get to help families in the same situation that I used to be in. Like, I know what it's like to be a sleep-deprived parent. I was there, and I just want to give those parents a hug and let them know it doesn't have to be this way.
The best part about being a sleep consultant is that I have a lot of freedom to do my thing with my children and with my family. My husband's an entrepreneur as well, so we have really flexible and interesting and sort of stressful lives. But I love that I can dedicate very passionately in my own way to what I want to do with my clients, and I don't have to answer to anyone else. I get to be my own boss.
As a small business owner, I get to run my own schedule. I can still continue to meet the priorities of my family and my health, and I get to help families sleep better every day, which is just a really fulfilling way to spend my day at work.
It's a great career, and if you're willing to work hard and you know, give it some effort, that it can really be a successful business, and it's a great business.
Do it. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into necessarily until you're in it, but if your heart is longing to help families that are kind of in this painful sleep-deprived situation, and you want to help that, you want to bring a little income to your family, then you just kind of have to take the leap and be committed to just go for it.
If they like to really have a lot of ownership over what they do, then do it. It's amazingly fulfilling. It's really rewarding. You do change lives every day.
If it feels like something that you are passionate about, and even if you're a little nervous, you need to just take the leap. And when you take that leap, just jump all in and give it everything you have. That is the way to be successful.
As you can see, certified SleepSense consultants come from a wide variety of backgrounds, but the one thing that they all have in common, besides a desire to have a more fulfilling career, is that they all started by answering these few simple questions for me. So if anything you've heard from me or Christine or Carrie Ann or Leanne sounds interesting to you, I would encourage you to click the button and tell me a little bit more about yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and sleep well.